Welcome back in Sports Radio 950 KJR. Lund and Furness with you on a Tuesday afternoon. That means guess who joins us? The bright, shining ray of sunshine from the Bay Area, John Lund, KNBR. Good friend, how are you?
No,
You're shaking your head already.
You got to do that. You got to do that again. There was no enthusiasm in that. We've become like an old married couple.
I know.
There's like,
That's the beauty of the segment.
What is that about?
Fella, that's the beauty of the segment. That's the beauty of the segment right there. One of us has been up since about 3:45 this morning.
Oh,
so.
will you stop it?
What?
It's a TV star.
It's a reality, man.
Yeah, you know what? There's guys digging ditches driving home going,
I know.
This isn't real work. Will you stop?
Happy to be gainfully employed. You know what it is? I've got
You're over-gelled today, by the way. Very over-gelled. I mean, the beard looks good, trimmed up. You need to lighten up on the gel or whatever you got going. A little too sticky.
You know, the problem with it is that, like, after about 4 or 5 hours, it starts to wear off. So you just got to put a more glean on there, because as soon as it wears off, the gray shows. And and I'll be honest with you.
That's a battle, isn't it?
I'm some people battle losing it. Some people battle the gray. I'm battling the gray, and it's a battle that I'm losing.
Battling the gray is better than battling losing it, because at some point you just, like LeBron, for example. Did you see the thing he did yesterday where at least he can laugh at it? The back of a Reese's peanut butter cup, when you pull off the paper and you see just the peanut butter because the chocolate went away. That's what the back of his head looks like. So I'll give him credit, because at least he's saying, okay, it's pretty bad. Like, at some point you got to go Jordan, but you don't know what your head looks like until you shave it, right? So Jordans, there's certain guys who you pull it out, they pull it off, you go, whoa, that looks good. I don't know what LeBron's head looks like under there.
White middle-aged dudes don't look bald usually. It's just a foregone conclusion. It just doesn't. Like, I don't even want to think about what it would look like.
No, you're good.
You got to go. You got to have facial hair at that point. You got to do something. I'm losing the gray battle at times. So I just, I'm doing what I can.
So as a big TV star, you're not gonna ever go like Grecian formula. Like, you're not gonna do that thing where they brush the stuff into the beard and the hair.
Maybe if it was a full-time gig, maybe then it would be, maybe then I would probably be vain enough to try to do it, but it's not. It's still, it's still part-time enough. I can fake my way through it here or there.
It works though. You got a little salt and pepper. It's fine. All right, go ahead.
I'm still old.
I got you off.
Listen, I'm still old enough. I got, at some point you got to accept who the hell you are, right? I mean,
especially, here's the thing. The difference between you and I is that you're married, you got the kids, you're good. I'm not recently divorced. It's been a while, and then
feels like it's been a long time. How long has it?
Well, yeah, and then it's been. Oh, it feels so long. Believe me, when I write a check every month,
I'm sorry.
It's long.
I know too much.
My ex-wife. You know my ex-wife, and then I had a girlfriend, and that blew up because I'm terrible at relationships. So now I'm out there, and it's like, so when you're out there as a single person, you got to do everything you possibly can. Like, I got to do. I don't have gray hair yet, but I'm getting the the specs and the beard, and it's like, oh.
So you're telling me my wife probably just, I don't really care what I look like for my wife is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. You're locked in. You got kids in college. You're like, come on, neither of you are going anywhere. Let's be honest. You're locked in. You're locked in at this point. Maybe some years down the line, but you got the kids in college. Yeah, come on.
I'm on the back nine. I'm so far in the back. I'm 14 or 15 right now.
Everybody knows. Everybody that's married for years knows what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
John Lund, brought to you by Cascade Ice Water, caffeinated ice water. Cranking it up. Here we go. 16 ounce
I got the orange this morning.
Orange mango, I think, right? Is that what you got? There you go.
Orange mango is my morning go-to. It's got the caffeine in it, which is amazing. And then when I get to the afternoon, Papa drives me crazy. I start the show at 10 a.m. By noon, I get the lemonade out, hit it with a little vodka. Yeah. And then near the end of the show, about 1:45, when we're getting close, then I might pull out maybe the strawberry lemonade. Oh, what's really good? The grapefruit. The grapefruit is
I'm telling you, I told you, the grapefruit with tequila. The pink grapefruit with tequila.
Man,
I'm sure the folks at Cascade Ice love the fact that we just, instead of talking about the organic caffeine
in the morning, I go with the orange mango in the morning. It's perfect for the morning, and then we get going from there. And the caffeine's great. The taste is great. It's not too sweet. Man, it's good.
There you go. Love those guys at Cascade Ice Water. We thank them, Todd and company. All right. You tweeted out something interesting, because I think big news in the NFL today came out with Budda Baker, now the highest paid safety in the NFL, getting big
until Jamal Adams gets the deal, right?
Yeah, but he's still 2 years away. I mean, they can extend him, but he's got 2 years left on his deal. But yeah, first of all, there's two elements to this. One, Jamal Adams is looking at that saying, oh baby, there's the lottery right there. Like, the bar has been set. You mentioned it, though, just from a football standpoint. First week, Kittle versus Baker. I mean, you signed Budda Baker and Jamal Adams because you got guys like Kittle to deal with in this division, don't you?
Well, and Kittle just signed a big contract. And, the safety position is something that's been undervalued. The tight end position is something that's been undervalued. And so Kittle got a big deal. I think what happens in these positions is it depends on how you run things. We sit here in the NFL and we determine, obviously the quarterback is big, but we say the left tackle, the pass rusher, the corner, there's other positions. But depending on how your team is situated and how you put it together, George Kittle got a contract between what Austin Hooper got, a tight end, and what Amari Cooper got, a wide receiver. So he got somewhere in the middle. But he blocks like a tackle. Yeah. He catches like a receiver. And he's an emotional part of this team. So I don't know how you value that. Same thing when Jamal Adams comes up. He's a different kind of a cat. So you're sitting there saying, okay, he's just quote unquote a safety. Not the way I think Seattle's going to use him.
Well, he's definitely not the way. He's not the safety that Cam or Earl were when they were here. He's a different type of player. I mean, in theory, you look at the tackles for loss, the plays that he makes behind the line of scrimmage. Those guys never made. It is the value of things is interesting, though, isn't it? I mean, it just in terms of what it used to be. Left tackle is the number one pick in the draft. He's the guy that's going to get paid the most, and they still do, and there's still a value there. But the way quarterbacks move around now, that's not as much of a deal as it used to be. You move a pocket. And then, like, the safety hasn't been – I mean, when you think about what Adams made or what Budda Baker's making, that has not been a value position. Yet you – just because of what we just talked about, personnel in this division, personnel in the NFL.
That's it.
That safety, a hybrid safety especially, that's a huge important position.
Well, let's look at the Niners versus the Seahawks just because that's the conversation we always have. And I think that the division is going to come down to that, even though I think Arizona is going to be better. The Rams are kind of interesting. But if you look at these two, Jordan Reed is a guy that they got from the Redskins. Now, he hasn't participated in camp, and I was down there Saturday and Sunday, so they've got a few good tight ends. But if he's healthy, he was really good with the Redskins. Kyle Shanahan is going to employ, because they got a lot of injuries at receiver too, they're going to employ a guy like Deebo Samuel, who's a do-it-all guy who can catch it, run, do all these kind of things. He's big, about 6 foot and maybe over 200 pounds. He's stocky. And then you got Jordan Reed and you got George Kittle. So you've got to be able to have linebackers, safeties, nickel guys, whatever, that are going to take care of these type of guys. Now, they've got receivers. They drafted a kid named Brandon Ayuk. Everybody knows out of Arizona State if you're a Pac-12 fan. So he's a big physical kid. That's what they're trying to accomplish here. Now, Seattle's got the big corners, of course, but you're going to have to deal with tight ends. They got a guy named Jet McKinnon, who they got from the Vikings a couple of years ago, signed him to a big contract. He's been not healthy, but I was just down at camp. He looked like he runs a 4.3. So now you got a guy coming out of the backfield on third down. It's a totally different offense. And what Shanahan is looking for is the mismatches on your team. So if you're the Seahawks, and they've accomplished this, I think, especially because of the Dunbar situation, you better have big DBs. You better have safeties who can cover. You better have active linebackers. Those are the things you're going to have to deal with if you're going to deal with what last year was the best team in the division. And you better have the personnel. You better put your personnel like Arizona has done and the Seahawks have done, and the Niners against those teams too, because now that's now what the division is.
John Lund, came to be our weekly visit by Cascade Esquire. Well, I think this, as you're saying that, I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking how the game has evolved, right? And it's not cookie cutter anymore. It used to be. It used to be very cookie cutter. But now, I mean, everyone's kind of a hybrid of this. Kittle's a great example. I mean, but Kittle might just be not a hybrid, but just the total package, right? I mean, great blocker. You get to the second level and he gets his hands on you, it's over. We know what he can do in the passing game. But, Seattle went out. I've been talking about it this morning. We did a thing on Bruce Irvin, and he's going to be on the show tomorrow, I believe. But, Bruce Irvin's a good example. Drafted as a defensive end, moved into Sam linebacker. He can kind of go back and forth. He can be a rush D end, but he's also big enough that you can put him at Sam linebacker, and he can set the edge as a linebacker. And so he's versatile. You need to have versatile. Adams is versatile, right? I mean, all those guys. You mentioned the big receivers that are out there right now. Football's evolved, and that's the thing, especially in your own division. You almost have to kind of match mano a mano for your own division, especially when it's a division like this.
Well, and think about another thing too, because it's all about finding mismatches, both offensively and defensively.
And Shanahan's great at that. He's so good at that.
Another guy. So they have a guy named Trent Taylor who was gone last year. He is your typical, stereotypical, I should say, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, quick, white, small slot receiver. Now they got a guy named Juwan Jennings, who they took in the 7th round of Tennessee that they're really high on, and he's big, and they might put him in the slot. Well, that's what the Cardinals do with Larry Fitzgerald. It's not just a small, quick guy in the slot anymore. You might put a big guy in the slot now. So you've got to have versatile defensive players because this whole division, Kyler Murray, the ability that he has, Russell Wilson, the ability that he has, there's all these different things now, as you said, that get thrown at you as a defense, and you better have. That's why people talk about Jamal. You gave up too much for Jamal Adams. He's a safety. Wake up. He's not just a safety. He's a chess piece. Just like offensively, you have chess pieces. He's a chess piece that you move around defensively depending on who's beating you up. And he can cover in the slot. He can go back. He can blitz. He's got Kittle. Talk about tight ends. All these chess pieces offensively, you better have those same kind of defensive versatility chess pieces, or especially in this division. And we haven't even talked about McVay and the Rams. In this division, you're going to get beat.
Cooper Kupp, you got DK Metcalf to deal with in his second year.
Right.
Last I heard that the Hopkins kid's pretty good. Kid in Arizona. I heard he's all right. Yeah. He's all right. And 65-year-old Larry Fitzgerald's still going to catch 80 passes this year.
Right. And he might average 6 per, but it's 3rd and 6, and he caught it.
Well, that's the thing. It's 3rd and 5.5. He's going to get 6 yards and put the ball down and walk away. That's what he does.
He's going to be in the slot. You're just going to look at it like, geez, because he just catches everything.
Hey, John Lund joining us. All right, so topic of conversation that we had a little bit yesterday, and I think as we're talking about all this, you're bringing up names we haven't really even heard of some guys. We could do the same with the Seahawks. Every team could do that. Well, the difference is there's no preseason games this year, so everything is in the lockdown stage. We are locked down, buddy.
Fun for media?
Yeah, we are locked down right now. I mean, it's. We got the memo the other day before their mock game. You can't mention anything in terms of rotate. Yeah, and which I understand from the team standpoint. Like, why would you give somebody a competitive advantage, right? Like, if you have the ability, but it's immensely frustrating for us, and certainly I think fans still want information, don't they?
Yeah, the two things. And look, again, people are digging ditches, and they're like, oh, woe's you. It's just because we're trying to get access. I talked to a lot of guys this weekend who, look, they've got great relationships with players, all these things, but we go down, we get the same guy, whoever's in the Zoom meeting, that's who we talk about, so you're not getting any insight there. When you go down to 49ers camp, and I'm sure the Seahawks is the same because Kyle's very secretive, so you can shoot a little bit at the beginning, and you can see, position groups, they're doing their drills and all these things, but when they go over and they're gonna run actual plays, first of all, like you said, you can't say anything, who's starting, who's doing this, who's doing that. But also they go so far away from us that all of us grab our binoculars and
nice.
we're trying to decipher what's going on. And remember, all of us have to do, who's the player of the day? What's the play of the day? This guy made a diving pit play. This guy got an interception. This guy did this. Anytime a play is made or a guy falls on the ground or, any kind of rep, everyone's scribbling down something. Now I've got an iPad, so I'm down there typing something and the same articles are coming out. We're doing the best we can. And we're trying to give you insight, but the reality is they don't want to give anything away. And Harbaugh was like this. Harbaugh one time ran off the practice field. There was a guy in one of those elevated things. He's like working on the wires or something way up high. And Harbaugh thought he was a spy. He ran literally in training camp off the field. There's a soccer field next door. And he started berating the guy. And the dude's like, I'm just doing my job. I work for Pacific Gas and Electric, PGE. I'm not spying. But that's what all the coaches have become, right? We're all spies, and we're all going to tell who's the starting corner or the right guard or whatever the, position battle is.
What side of the fence do you roll on? I mean, I'm almost saying there can't be a gray area, but there is probably a gray area here. But I get it. I understand it. I understand, if Kyle Shanahan isn't allowing you guys to report on who the offensive line is, what the receiver rotation is, who's your nickel back? How often are you practicing nickel or dime? Are you in base, whatever? All those things. If that's not, I can understand Pete Carroll locking it down. I know that there's criticism of, hey, they're self-important in that, but it's still their job to win football games. I guess I wish we could say more, but I also understand what they're doing.
Yeah, with no preseason games, why would you give anything away? I think teams like the 49ers and everybody in the division, they know, generally speaking, there's some battles. I've been keeping up on the Seahawks. What is it? Damian Lewis, the kid out of LSU, is he going to be the right guard?
Yeah.
Does it make that much of a difference? Do we know who's going to move into the slot? The 49ers have some injuries at receiver. I don't know. But any kind of – this is professional football. So any kind of thing that they can try to get an advantage of, that's what they do. So I get it.
Hey, Pete wasn't happy yesterday. In his own way. He didn't go too far with it, but I know Sean McDermott in Buffalo did, and others, about the fans in the stands at certain games. Where do you fall in on that?
Well, here's
should it be universal? Should it be universal? Well, like it's all in one?
Here's the catch-22. It's not fair, but we're in a totally different time now. So if I think Miami said this morning 13,000, obviously right. Texas, Jerry Jones is saying, hey, I want to have everybody in the stands. I mean, that's what that's a poor Jerry Jones. But the thing is, though, is it all goes into a pool. So if they're allowed fans, okay, you want it to be even from a game day standpoint. You don't want a certain team to have fans and another team not to have fans. And certainly in Seattle, it's one of the biggest home field advantages. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. So if you don't have fans, I think that makes a huge difference. But it all goes into this pool of revenue, right? So the cap goes down as low as $175 million. I don't want to make people's eyes glaze over, but it can go down $40 to $50 million. If you allow fans to come in, you can make up some of that revenue, and the cap can potentially be higher. So what is the NFL going to do? They're going to side with money, because that's what they always do. So you've got to side with money versus fairness. Well, life ain't fair, and they're going to side with money. So that's how it's going to work.
It's not? Life isn't fair? Come on. I mean, one of us is gray, one of us is half bald.
That's right.
What do you mean?
I know. It's not terrible. Fair for either. Life is not fair. Ridiculous.
You guys, is Kyle and John Lynch going to go out and get Earl Thomas if Dallas doesn't? No.
I know that Richard Sherman put out some tweets that said Earl's going to prove everything. Let's be honest. Earl Thomas as a Seahawk, as a single high safety, was amazing. Earl Thomas with the Ravens, not so much. You don't let players go who are very productive. We know how it works. If you're a jerk in any stage, it doesn't matter, sports, business, whatever, they'll put up with a lot. The minute your jerkness becomes more than what you're producing, then you're out. And that's what happened with Earl Thomas. He's not the guy he was in Seattle. And Dallas, apparently, according to Rap Sheet this morning, he said Dallas isn't in on this thing. So I don't know who is.
Well, you know, the best thing about that is that Jerry Jones went on our buddy Gavin Dawson's station then later on, and he tried to basically say that Rap Sheet didn't know what he's talking about. But that's just because Jerry wants to be the guy making the news, not Rap. It's
well, those guys have a pretty good track record. And look, I wouldn't say 100% not Earl Thomas, but again, I don't want to bore you with 49ers talk. But they have a free safety named Jimmy Ward who's pretty good.
Really good.
Now, he could move down. He could move down to the corner opposite Sherman. He's done that before, but it's pretty late in camp to do something like that. And I think the Seahawks are the same way. This is kind of a kumbaya locker room. They like everybody. They've got this attitude. We're getting back to the Super Bowl. They've got. I don't know that Earl Thomas fits that.
Listen, he didn't fit at the end. He couldn't play for Pete Carroll, who's the ultimate players coach, and then he couldn't play in as good an organization there is in Baltimore with the Ravens.
Right.
Like when your teammates all go and say, "Hey, like I want you out of here."
You want this guy.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of did that. We did that with a guy at 1320, didn't we? Back in Salt Lake, our old station.
It happens. Yeah. You start getting that thing. That guy's still the same. We don't have time for that. But yeah, that's what happens. But that's an interesting point you make. If you can't play for Pete Carroll, then you can't play for John Harbaugh. That's a you problem. There are certain organizations in all the sports where you say, I get it. You played for the Clippers. I get it. They're bad. I mean, this year, but through history, you played for this organization. I get it. That's on them. The Seahawks and the Ravens, that's on you. That's a you problem.
That's very much on you.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
He'll go. The best thing is he'll go sign somewhere else. Sherman will get pissed off about it. He'll complain. Then you guys can deal with that for a while too. So enjoy that.
He's such a nice guy. You've got him all wrong.
Where's your orange mango?
Oh, yes. It's right here.
There it is.
That's my morning go-to, man. No more coffee for me.
Product placement. I love it. All right. We'll talk to you next week. See ya.
All right, brother. You're looking good. Cover that gray.